told his speechwriters, you quoted the end of Lincoln's first inaugural address. The paragraph above that begins, "We are not enemies, we must not be enemies." And that was Ronald Reagan's approach to politics. The president was preparing to go to a summit with Mr. Gorbachev. And I had been writing columns that were very skeptical of Mr. Gorbachev and very critical of the Reagan administration's policy of détente toward Gorbachev, of whom I was quite suspicious. And I got a phone call one day, and I picked up the phone, and the White House operator said, "The president's on the line." I said, "Good." And he said, "Well, George, I'm not enjoying reading you as much as I used to." And I said, "Well, Mr. President, I'm not enjoying watching you be president as much as I used to." And he laughed in his amiable way and said, "Well, come to the White House and we'll talk about it." So I did, sat across from his desk in the Oval Office, and he explained why I was wrong in the nicest possible way, as he always did. And it turns out he was probably right, and I was probably wrong, not for the first time. But that gives you some sense of how the man mixed humor with purposefulness. And the humor helped.
But in view of the 5 things that I just said, I don't know whether you know it or not, but I have a new hobby. I am collecting stories that I can actually prove are told among the Russian people. They make them up themselves, they tell them between themselves, reveals they got a great sense of humor, and they've also got a little cynical attitude about things in their country. And one of these stories, the one I'm going to tell you, I told to General Secretary Gorbachev, and he laughed. The story was an American and a Russian arguing about their 2 countries, and the American said, "Look, in my country, I can walk into the Oval Office, I can pound the president's desk and say, 'Mr. President, I don't like the way you're running our country.'" And the Russian said, "I can do that." The American said, "You can?" He says, "Yes. I can go into the Kremlin, to the General Secretary's office, pound his desk and say, 'Mr. General Secretary, I don't like the way President Reagan's running his country.'"
Ronald Reagan was polite. He was a gentleman. He was dignified.